Master.
Hi everyone, Sneemaster here with an updated review of the RSI Zeus Mark II CL and ES variants. The RSI Zeus Mark II variants are medium-sized multi-crew ships based on the original RSI Zeus exploration ship. The CL variant is designed to carry a lot of cargo, while the ES is a long-range exploration ship. The Zeus Mark II CL and ES released flyable in patch 3.24.2, so they have updated values and info compared to my older video on them. The Zeus ships are 46 meters long, 34 meters wide, and 8 meters high. In comparison to other medium ships, the Zeus variants are definitely in the middle of the pack in size, which is interesting because the CL variant can carry so much cargo compared to other equivalent size ships. The Zeus variants carry up to 3 crew in 3 seats in the cockpit, 1 for the pilot and 2 for the co-pilots. Each seat has 2 MFDs, and the side seats also have a view of the missile launchers down below. The pilot has excellent viewing angles to the sides and below the ship, but the top is blocked by the upper hull as all the seats are attached to the ceiling. The lower view does help for landing or spotting ground targets, but looking up can be an issue, especially when trying to see if your hangar is open. The typical RSI cockpit struts don't block the view very much, which is impressive for an RSI ship. In the cockpit there is a component access for life support and shield generators, plus a gun rack for 3 standard-sized guns and a large one for a big gun. Behind the cockpit is an airlock section with 3 suit lockers. There is more component access here, plus an engineering computer that doesn't work yet. There is a docking port that connects to the port side. This docking port pops out behind a hidden door on the side of the ship, but there is no docking tube yet. In the same section is a ladder that drops down below the ship and has another exit. The living quarters are in the section behind this. The ES and CL variants have slight differences here. The ES variant has a gun locker for more guns in the main hallway. The port side has the beds and bathroom with 3 storage lockers with space for 650K micro SCU. The bathroom is small but has a shower, toilet, and sink. The beds are in very cramped bunks, but they do have computer screens in each. There is also little storage for micro SCU containers here on one of the top bunks. The ES variant also has a couch here for players to sit down at. On the starboard side is the kitchen and mess hall. There's a table with bench to eat at. There are cabinets here to store food and drinks, and supposedly ways to heat up or cool foods. The ES variant has more space in the kitchen for storing or making food, but not a big difference to the CL version. There is a window here that allows people sitting in the bench to look out. After this section is the cargo bay. In this area you have space for cargo, vehicles, and more components. The Zeus CL has a large cargo bay and can carry 128 SCU of cargo, while the ES loses some cargo space for only 32 SCU due to the extra fuel tank. You can fit up to 32 SCU containers in the CL and 8 SCU containers in the ES. The CL variant has gun rack on one side of the cargo bay and an elevated exit to the hallway, while you can see the extra ES fuel tank in the front of the cargo bay. The rear of the cargo bay has a ramp for loading cargo and vehicles. It's a small cargo door, but you can fit the containers through it long ways. The lift mechanisms are behind some protective glass. The cargo ramp is not as wide as some other cargo ships, preventing the ships from loading wider ground vehicles. You can load ground vehicles as large as a tumbled Cyclone and anything smaller though. You can also load the Mirai Fury in the cargo bay, but it's a tight squeeze to get through the door. The best way to load the Fury is to turn off the landing gear so it doesn't try to auto-land you. The CL variant can hold more vehicles than the ES variant, but all vehicles are the same size, since they have the same cargo door size. For example, you can fit a couple of Cyclones or Furies in the CL, but only a single Fury or Cyclone in the ES, because it's got a thinner cargo bay. The Zeus CL Mark II also has a ship-based size 2 tractor beam that pops out just above the rear ramp, which can carry up to 32 SCU containers, as well as small ground vehicles and small ships. The tractor beam is on a retractable arm at the back of the ship, which makes it quite good at loading cargo into and from the ship. The Zeus ES has 4 size 2 shields, while the CL has 3 size 2 shields. These shields make the Zeus series shields tougher than any other medium ship, but not as tough as a single large shield, like you might get on a Constellation. The Zeus series has less hull strength than similar ships like the Freelancer or Spirit C1 though, but the extra shields help make up for that. Just watch out, once the shields go down, the ship can get damaged quite quickly. The Zeus variants have an SCM speed of 200 meters a second. The ES has a max nav speed of 1010 meters a second, while the CL is slightly slower at 1000 meters a second. They have similar or slightly slower turning speeds than other ships like the C1 Spirit, Cutlass Black, or Freelancer, with the ES being slightly more agile than the CL. They both have VTOL engines under the ship. one main engine in the middle of the bottom of the ship and two smaller ones in the rear. The engines don't rotate, they just turn on and off. There are small wings on the side of the ship that fold up when landing gear extends so that the ships can fit better in hangars. Patch 3.24.2 has changed the fuel values and usage for ships, so I'll cover them differently than previous videos. The Zeus CL can hold 66 SU of hydrogen fuel, while the ES can hold 93 SU. So now the Zeus ships hold more hydrogen fuel than other medium cargo ships, except for the Freelancer series or Argo Raft. For quantum fuel, the ES holds a bit more fuel than the CL, with 1.5 SU versus 1.2 SU. That's about average for medium cargo ships, except the Argo Raft, which holds a lot more fuel than the other ships its size. The Zeus Mark II ES comes with a large size 3 radar that has a very long detection range and can detect smaller targets easier. The CL only has a size 2 radar, which is still decent but not as powerful as the ES version. This allows the ES to detect ships, minerals, or salvage from very long distances. It can also be used to sniff out stealthy targets better, as the big radar is harder to hide from, especially at close range. The CL is still good for detecting rocks and salvage to use with ground vehicles or the tractor beam, but it just has to get a bit closer than the ES does. For weapons, the Zeus series has two gimbaled pilot-controlled size 4 laser cannons on the side of the cockpit. The pilot doesn't have as many guns as other medium ships, but two size 4 cannons can do quite a bit of damage. They fire a little slow though, so you may want to install repeaters if you're going against faster ships. There's also a remote turret on the bottom of the ship, controllable by the left side co-pilot with dual size 3 laser repeaters. The remote turret can aim to the front, back, and sides of the ship as well as downwards, so it's good for attacking ground targets. But there is no cover on top for these ships. The nice thing is you don't have to enter the remote turret to fire it. The co-pilot can control it without remote viewing, so just by aiming out the windows, so it's good for frontal attacks like that too. On top of that, the Zeus ships have two size 4 missile hardpoints just under the cockpit with 4 size 2 missiles each in auto loaders. The missile launchers are fixed bespoke launchers, so you can't change the missile launcher sizes, but you can change what type of size 2 missiles you use. You can see the missiles load and launch under the seats of the co-pilots. This ship doesn't have as many missiles as a Freelancer or Cutlass, but decent enough to get out of trouble. These missiles won't be great against larger ships, but against smaller fighters they work pretty well. The Zeus Mark II ES and CL both go for $175 in store credit or $160 war bond in time-limited sales. You cannot buy them in-game or rent them yet, but maybe patch 4.0 or later will allow that. The ES variant comes with a white and gray paint scheme, while the CL comes with a blue and yellow paint. Concierge backers have the chance to buy the gray and gold Solstice paint during the concept sale only. Backers can also buy the gray and orange Starscape paint, the yellow Sunswept paint, and the orange Solar paint. During the Day of the Vara event, backers can also buy the purple and green Purple Haze paint, which can be quite colorful. The newly flyable Zeus Mark II ES and CL are great ships for multi-purpose and multi-crew gameplay. They both have cargo space, crew quarters, ability to carry ground vehicles, turrets, and co-pilot seats that allow crew to manage various systems. The internal cargo bay is well designed, and the living quarters are very comfortable. The forward docking port and exit ladder are also great features for players to enter and exit the ship if the rear is blocked. The ES is good for exploration with extra fuel tanks, and the CL carries more cargo than all medium cargo ships except for the Constellation Taurus and the future Hull B. You can use the guns, missiles, and turret to clear landing zones for cargo, transport, or exploration purposes. The variants can use the Mirai Fury, up to 2 in the CL, as extra defense or use it as a mini carrier to attack targets, as long as you have extra crew to fly them. The cargo bays on both ships can also be used to carry seats for passengers, so both versions can transport other players or NPCs, but watch your life support levels in patch 4.0. The more players you have on board, the faster the life support runs out. The CL in particular is good for passengers or troops, as it has a gun rack in the cargo bay for whoever's sitting there. The ES can be used to survey areas for mining or salvage, or it can be used to detect enemy ships for military, bounty hunting, or piracy. It's especially good at detecting stealth ships with that large radar. The extra shielding and long-range fuel tanks make it perfect for places like Pyro, or other systems where solar flares or refueling can be difficult. The cargo bay can be used to carry small vehicles for exploration or mining. On the other hand, the CL is optimal for carrying large quantities of cargo comfortably, or dropping off lots of vehicles for bounty missions, combat, mining, or exploration. The rear tractor beam turret makes it easy to load and offload cargo, or even transfer cargo between other ships. You can also move small ships and ground vehicles with the tractor beam, so it can be used like a small tow truck. You might be able to tow the ships and vehicles behind you like the Argo SRV does, but only to a limited degree. Don't accelerate very quickly or you will lose the tractor beam connection. The Zeus Mark II ships are very sleek, pretty ships. They pack a lot of features and human comfort into a small space while still looking good. The Zeus ships seem to be the first of the new sleeker RSI styling that'll be applied to other ships like the Apollo, Galaxy, and others. There are some drawbacks with these ships though. First, the pilot only has 2 pilot guns, and while they are size 4, they don't have very large capacitors, so you have to let them recharge often. They are decent against smaller ships, especially if you use repeaters, but against medium or larger ships you will need help from a co-pilot to man the remote turret to take them down. Second, the missiles are also alright, but not extremely numerous or large. They will be limited in helping to take down any but the smaller ships. Sure, 8 size 2 missiles isn't bad, but you can't change them to size 3 or 4 missiles for larger targets. Third, the hull strength is a little weak compared to medium ships. The extra size 2 shields help, but if an enemy can bring down the shields or use weapons that bypass shields, then the Zeus ships can be damaged easier than other similar sized ships. Fourth, the Zeus are not extremely nimble at turning, or at least as well as ships like the Cutlass or C1, so they will struggle with dodging gunfire or with dogfighting. These are not primarily combat ships, so I don't recommend putting them in serious combat. The shields and guns are to keep them alive long enough, just enough to get out of combat. Finally, there are some bugs with the ship. Right now, the co-pilots can take over the flying of the ship from the pilot, even if the pilot is actively flying, and there's no way to control who should have flight controls. So someone just sitting down in the co-pilot seat could stop the pilot from flying the ship, and then the ship could fall from the sky while the co-pilot is still adjusting. It is still useful for co-pilots to fire missiles or scan while the pilot is flying though. Hopefully that gets resolved soon. Comparing these Zeus ships to other medium multi-crew ships, they're about average in speed and agility, fairly good with cargo, sort of weak on the weaponry. The CL has more cargo than other medium ships, and the ES has long range and long distance radar. Just don't throw them in heavy combat unless you have support. Beyond that, I very much enjoy the Zeus Mark II ships. They look good, they're multi-purpose, and even better if your friends join you. Alright, so that's it for this updated review of the RSI Zeus Mark II ES and CL variants. Once the MR releases, I'll do a video on that one too. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. You can use my referral code if you decide to jump in as Star Citizen, and you'll get 5,000 extra in-game credits. Here's a big thank you to my current patrons. Please check out my Patreon membership to help me make more videos. All patrons and members will have their names listed at the end of my videos and get access to my Discord channel. So feel free to sign up and let me know what you'd like to see next. Okay, catch you all next time.